Okay, now we're recording.
Now we're recording. Okay, so just start over again. You know, I get up at 2 a.m. or
Okay.
whatever it is, and kind of take me through the day.
Okay. Yeah, I get up at 2 a.m. I mean, get up bright and early in the morning. I go out, get my bait out of my fridge, get everything going. Head out to my rig and my boat. Make sure I double check my boat. Make sure all my rods are in there. All my gear, all my bait cooler's in there. And I hook up and I head down about an hour down to where I fish every day. From there, I meet them at a gas station. I get there an hour before my clients get there. I rig my rods, make sure everything's set. My downriggers are all on. Downrigger balls are on. My electronics, everything's good to go. My gas in my boat's all filled up. I'm all topped off, ready to go. And then I meet them there, and they follow me down to the boat launch there. From there, I'll fish between 4 hours and 8 hours a day, depending if we get our limit soon. We get off the water early, but typically we'll get off at noon, 1 o'clock, and I'll head home. I'll get home around 2:30. And from there, I wash my boat out, wash all my gear off, make sure if there's retie leaders, if I broke off any leaders throughout the day. So usually around 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm done for the day. I spend time, eat dinner with my family, play with my kids and everything, and so around 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm done. I'm usually in bed by 8:30 and get up the next day and do it all over again.
In bed by 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me a little bit about the competitive nature of this as a sport. If you're out there fishing, lots of these guys I've been talking to do competitions and stuff. They say, you know what, we're all good natured, we're happy to see each other like get stuff, but there's also a lot of shit talking. There's a lot of my fish is bigger than yours, my boat's bigger than yours, my team's better than yours. Kind of a little bit of giving each other a little bit of hell. Talk to me about the competitiveness of this and how it can get pretty competitive, just like any sort of a contact sport.
Exactly. Being a guide, it is extremely competitive. I get out there and I want to catch fish because people are paying me good money to put fish in a boat and also to have a really good time while they're doing it. There's other guides on the water, so in my mind, I want to be the best guide out there. I'm going to be so competitive and I'm going to make sure I put the most fish in my boat. So years of experience, making sure my gear's running right, my bait's really good, and making sure I have really sharp hooks, making sure we're going to be on fish and catching fish. It's extremely competitive. I know guides out there that put half the fish in the boat that I normally do, and they're still trying to figure it out how I put more and more fish in the boat. So being competitive out there to have a good time out in the boat with my clients is really important, and to put fish in the boat extremely well, but then also to outfish all the other guides is something I really like doing, and a lot of those guides are my good personal friends too.
Great, fun. What's your specialty? Do you have, give me like a bullet point list, like I fish on lakes, rivers, ice, or, give me a rundown list of all the places you've had experience fishing.
Man, I have it from fishing little ponds to fishing bluegill, crappie, to fishing the Columbia River, fishing for salmon, a lot of trolling, a lot of ice fishing in the wintertime, drilling holes to trolling. I've done some ocean fishing and done pretty well out there in the ocean, taking my tactics and everything I've learned inland from salmon fishing and taking them out into the ocean. Has impressed a lot of sea captains out there on my knowledge of catching fish out in the ocean. So I got a pretty broad nature of what I've done for fishing.
That sounds great. Yeah, I want you to kind of like brag on yourself a little bit. I mean, how good are you and what makes you good at this? Have you done any competitions? Do you care to? Or do you just feel like, you know what, I know I'm good because I catch this kind of fish and that kind of fish and I'm awesome and blah, blah, blah. Just kind of just brag on yourself a little bit. I want to know that you're confident and that you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I can hang with people in Greenland. I can hang wherever you send me because I'm just as good.
Yeah, I think I'm very good. I usually don't brag on myself a lot. I let my actions show for what I do and everything. I'm very competitive. I do a lot of the local bass tournaments in the area, and I've won every bass tournament from that's offered around here. I've done the local salmon derbies. I've finished second and third many times. I still haven't got that first place finish out of 500 competitors. I've always finished in the top 10. So I'm very competitive. I think my knowledge of the water is very good, and I'm very confident in what I do.
Great. And you're out there in different kinds of weather conditions. Any kind of condition could present this danger. You could get a leak in the boat, or the engine could stop, or if you're ice fishing, fall through the give me a list of all the dangers that face you in this kind of a sport, especially where you're like way into like you are. Just yeah, run me through the risk.
The risk I have is, a lot of the waves and weather and everything that we do. Making sure my clients are safe. Like the risk of water coming over the boat. Making sure my boat's we're fishing in a safe environment. Doing things like that. The risk of making sure people don't stab themselves with hooks, and making sure they know how to handle the rods and they don't get hooks in them. Those are some of the risks. There aren't a huge amount of risks out there where I do my stuff. I make sure myself and my clients are in a good situation to taking yourself out of the risk situation.
Cool. And you said you've done some ice fishing. I'm kind of interested in like what experience you have as far as ice fishing and what risks you think are associated with that.
Oh man, the experience ice fishing, I've done kokanee through the ice. I've done a lot of spiny ray fish from perch to bluegill through the ice. And the risks out there are, of course, how thick is the ice? The wind chill while I'm out there. Am I going to have to bring a shelter when I'm out there and bring fire, bring a heater or anything to keep us warm, to keep us out there on the water? So, definitely knowing how thick the ice is very, very important. And being dressed properly while we're out there fishing is very important.
And talking about strategy, and definitely not talking about your guiding business. It's more like fishermen against fishermen. If you're out there and you're fishing, a lot of guys are saying, you know what? If I ice fish, I cover up my tracks. I don't go to the same spot twice. I don't go to the same spot in a reasonable amount of time so that people don't, think that I'm, follow me around and think that I'm onto something. So they have all these kinds of ways they go about and hide where they go. What's your strategy to make sure that like where you go, you're getting the best fish that's not tapped out?
Definitely, don't overfish one certain area. If you got a hot spot, pull a couple fish from there. I'll go to another spot and catch a few fish there. Usually, when you start competition fishing, like if I was to do ice fishing or bass fishing like that, there's a certain time period when the fish are biting, and so running and gunning and going through where the fish are biting and hitting as many locations possible, getting the best fish out of every spot is the way I would do it. Running and gunning, getting a few here, getting a few here, and that's how you're going to get your quality fish time in and time out.
Awesome. And talk to me a little bit about, you're half of a team here, and I already spoke to Josh. Tell me a little bit about Josh as a fisherman, or wait, the Stump. Tell me a little bit about him as a fisherman, why he's good, why he makes a good partner, why the two of you together would be kind of unstoppable, because those are the words he used.
Sure. Josh Stump, I mean, he's basically my brother, man. We do everything alike. We think alike. He's a good fisherman, meaning if I'm thinking one thing, he's thinking another. If we need to go do something, meaning if we need to use a certain bait and go troll in a certain area, he's thinking of the next step on what we need to be doing. We need to use this bait. We need to go to this area. Hey, if we saw a lot of fish rolling up in here, we caught them on this yesterday. Meaning he's thinking one step ahead. I'm thinking one step ahead. And by his knowledge and my knowledge together, he couldn't have put a better word better. Meaning we are unstoppable. If there's a competition and we're working together and we're clicking on all cylinders, we're a tough team to beat and we get the job done.
Sweet. And he said, I was talking to him a little bit about, like I mentioned to you earlier, like the trash talking and the little kind of like, trying to one-up each other and stuff. He said that, of the two of you would be a little bit more willing to do a little trash talking, maybe get people's faces, maybe, do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I do think it is a fair statement. My competitive edge is a little more outgoing, I think, than Stump. He is more the calm conservative guy, but the very outgoing as well. But out of the two, I'm definitely the more get-goer and to get into somebody's face if I really need to, yes, there's no doubt.
I love that. And is that just like kind of sportsmanship? Is that kind of like it gets you going, it makes you more competitive, it makes you try harder, or is that part of your strategy to kind of intimidate the other people and be like, I got this? Like, does that kind of just add to the fun of the whole thing?
It is. I really let my actions really show for it. If I like putting more fish in the boat, and if people want to get mouthy about it, then yeah, I'll tell them the way it is and everything, and I always back up what I say. If we're out catching fish, and we're catching more fish than the other, I'll tell people about it, and that's just the way it is. I let my actions show for what I do.
make some time to be all into a sport like this? Is it time away from home? Is it obviously it's, you're sacrificing sleep? Kind of give me a list of the ways that it kind of impacts you when you're really all into this sort of a sport.
I mean, it has a lot of damper on the family, you know. It's we're away from home at long hours. Our prep time, you know, not just being out in the family, but our prep time before and after doing our job is tremendous. So being away from the family, having them understand what we do for a living is, you know, having our hobby, our job is really something. And so pressure on the family and is really tough in this situation.